no doubt about that. Thank you, everybody, for being here today, and I apologize for running a little late. Every summer in Arizona, it's hot. We know that. But this year, the heat wave hit a whole new level. In the month of July, Phoenix had a 31-day streak where the average temperature was above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 31 days in a row. And in total, we had in Phoenix 55 days above 110 this summer. And that's unprecedented. But one stat that I saw describing this summer's heat stands out above the rest, and I was just looking at a plot. This is a couple months ago, and this is actually a global plot on worldwide temperature. And when you look at the summer of 2023, it kind of stands out. And data from the Copernicus Climate Change Service found that the average global temperature, which is what I'm talking about, when I looked at this, it was a 3 sigma variation, 3 standard deviations away from the norm. And to me, as somebody who used to do a lot of stuff with data as a test pilot, could be a bad data point. Could be. But you know, temperature is a pretty easy thing to measure. So in my view, and in my mind, it's either bad data, which it's not, or something very unusual has happened. That same data shows that in July and August of this year, we were 1.5 degrees centigrade warmer than pre-industrial levels. So Dr. Weiner, when we see data like this, how easy or difficult is it to attribute all or even part of this to a change in the climate? And when we see data increases like the change in summer temperatures from last year to this one, it's sometimes hard to communicate why this is such a big deal. So how does climate attribution shape the ways that we talk about the impact of climate change on data? If you can address those.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, this year is a particularly unusual one. And Arizona wasn't the only place that had a heat wave. At the same time, we had heat waves in the United States, we had heat waves in Europe and China all simultaneously. And that's part of the reason why so the whole northern hemisphere was hot. And that's part of the reason why the global mean is a 3 sigma event. Now, some of that is going to be an El Nino effect, and we can quantify that, but not nearly all of it. And so some also part of it is quite clearly the anthropogenic effect, the human-caused effect from our consumption of fossil fuels and our changes to the composition of the atmosphere.
Dr. Wader, can I just ask you, if you go back decades or over the last 100 years, has there been another 3 sigma event in temperature?
Not that I'm aware of, but my knowledge isn't complete on that. So it's an unusual event. This is, when I was coaching ice hockey, I'd call this, in the words of the great basketball coach John Wooden, a teachable moment. This is a teachable moment for many of us, including climate scientists, so that we can better understand that. And attribution science is probably the key to understanding how all these different factors led to this 3 sigma event.
So part of it could be El Nino.
Some of it certainly is called El Nino. Some of it could be natural.
But we've had El Ninos.
We've had El Ninos in the past. Of course.
What's the cycle on an El Nino?
It's every 4 to 7 years.
4 to 7.
But 1998 was another huge El Nino year, and then years afterwards were cooler. And I had to write papers afterwards, saying, the title of the paper is the climate warming or cooling, and it's because people were saying, well, climate change stopped. And so it's important to look, that's wrong, of course. You can't just start your analysis in the hottest time of the year or hottest data point. And so...
Yeah, the CO2, methane, carbon monoxide didn't vanish from the atmosphere.
No. And so the longer the data records, the more informative it is.
And do you expect future 3 sigma events to occur more frequently?
That I cannot say. I don't think we understand changes in variability nearly as well as we do changes in the average. But I certainly can tell you that this summer event, throughout the world was unusual, but it will be the norm in a very short period of time.
And do you feel that the messaging in the United States and across the planet on this issue and this Three Sigma event is sufficient? Or do you feel like maybe media and others are falling short?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. To me, the data always speaks for itself, but I'm not an expert on media relations, and so I think I'll defer on that question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, when I saw the data, it was just happened, I was reading, an article and just saw the plot, and it was like, my reaction was, wow, that's different.
One of the things one of my colleagues and I are working on is, would this temperature been impossible without climate change? Would this past summer been impossible without climate change? And, give me a few more months and we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, please let me know. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.